What's up, everyone? Carmen Dinisco here. Get retail ready. We have a whole new season, a new show. Not a new host. Jim's still with us, but that's okay. We'll still get by. And we've had some great guests on this first season. Let's bring on the man of the hour, Mr. Jim DeBetta. Jim, what's up, man?
Yeah, you're right. Season six, I think so far, and what we have slated, this may be our most guest-heavy season ever, and there's no shortage of great stories, people, successes. I think this season's really going to be about successes because the few people that we've had on already are everyday people. They're inventors. They've had careers. They've done something else. This has been their side hustle, so to speak, and it's becoming successful and a dream come true for them. And whenever I post on social media about you can do this, you always get those people that post and say, "Oh, it's such a sham," and no, only one in a. Someone wrote to me the other day, only one in a million inventors is successful. I'm like, I talk to like people every single day. So I said, it's certainly not 100,000 out of a million, but it's definitely more than one in a million. And you get people that do that. But anyway, today we have somebody who, again, a product that when you think about it, Carmine, is just, it's in its simplicity is so smart, but yet I've never seen anybody do something quite like what she's done. And this is what we talk about, somebody that gets up and says, I'm not just going to talk about it, but I'm going to do something about it. And I'm going to make sure that my product, my version of whatever that is going to be the one that's sold in all the stores or becomes the brand name. So before I get into any more of that, let's introduce our guest, Carolyn Barbarite. Carolyn, good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Yes, yes, yes. So we're going to have you tell your story. What inventors always want to know first and foremost is the why. Why did you do this? What were you doing before this? Like, were you working or did you have a career, a job? Or, who knows what you were doing? But we want people to understand why you did this, because a lot of inventors just invent because they have tons of ideas, but a lot of inventors, even more inventors, invent for a particular reason. So what's your story on that?
Yeah, sure. So I'm Carolyn Barbarite with Javamelts flavored sugar. And it's kind of an unusual story. And my why actually happened by happenstance. So I was sitting down about to have a cup of coffee with my husband on Valentine's Day in 2016. And he offered to go get me a specialty cup of coffee. And it was so cold in New York. I said, no, I will just have coffee here. And on the counter alongside candy filled tarts. And I looked down at the candy and I picked it up and I had my aha moment. I said, oh my gosh, I have the craziest idea. Wouldn't it be amazing if I could pick this up, which is now Javamelts, and I could open it up and put it into my coffee or tea and instantly have a gourmet flavored European inspired delicious cup of coffee. And my brain exploded. My why is because why not? So there's never been a large batch flavored sugar on the marketplace. The possibilities are endless. You could use it not only for coffee and tea, but you could use it for artisan cocktails, baking, and so much more. I have three beautiful daughters, and I could not allow this idea to pass through my brain, and knowing how explosive it could be and now is, and disappoint my family. So I decided to inspire and motivate my three daughters and others when they have a great idea, follow through, figure it out, and go for it.
Totally, like exactly what we tell inventors every single day. And it's interesting how you said you were just sort of sitting there and by accident, but maybe not by accident, right? That you need or want for something. Nobody wanted to go do anything about it, a la your husband, like, okay, don't go out, it's cold, right? And I grew up in New York. I know how cold it gets. And for you to then look down and say, this is something. And you know what's funny? For a little while years ago, I used to use like the flavored creamers, which I don't like because they're filled with lots of chemicals and artificial things. Yeah. And
Right.
And it on top of it being sugar. And I'm okay with regular sugar because I mean, it's okay to have a little bit of sugar, right? It's fine.
Of course.
But when you have a creamer, which is sugar, high fructose corn syrup, artificial flavors, this coloring, it's like it takes that nice cup of coffee and sort of destroys it in a way.
Of course.
Because coffee in and of itself, in moderation, is completely fine. And so when I first saw Javamelts, I was like, did somebody really just make something that has all these different particular flavors that you could just drop in? And like you said, it goes beyond coffee. It could be teas, it could be foods, it could be anything that you're using because you've made it convenient and simple to do for people.
Absolutely. It's just pure cane sugar and natural flavor. It's recyclable packaging. It comes in 4 delicious gourmet flavors: hazelnut, mocha, French vanilla, and caramel. And a lot of people like to mix the flavors. So you could take the mocha, which is chocolate, and mix it with the hazelnut and have kind of like a Nutella, flair to it. It's vegan, non-GMO, kosher, and gluten-free. I mean, it checks. And I'm a small business and certified woman-owned. Come on. Check every box.
Yeah, you've got them all. That's absolutely for sure. All right. Question for you here, though.
Yes.
When you had this, as you say, your aha moment, and you said, okay, I got to do something. What were the first few steps you took? Because obviously you weren't an inventor, right? Yeah. That's not what you did. Yeah. So you had to say, where do I go for help or advice? What do I do next? What were your steps and how did you accomplish those first important steps when you started?
Yeah. So from literally the moment that I thought of the idea, I took out a pen and paper. I still have the original folder. And I started writing down all the different marketplaces and all the different applications that we could have and the things that were most important to me. Okay. So clean ingredients, sustainability, like don't overclog the already overfilled landfills with plastics, like the creamers and powders come in. All of those things were important to me. So I basically, if you think it, you should write it down, right? Then we went over and we started doing some Google searches for products that might be similar, just to make sure. Now I have 3 adult daughters. Jessica's 26 now. Kelly is 28 and Danielle is 30. And at the time, 2 of them were still in college. So I felt that I was pretty exposed to the products that were out there for our generation, my parents' generation, and the girls. And I for the life of me, I was like, how has the sugar industry not have addressed this? So as all of these thoughts are going through my head, I made a list and I wrote it down. We searched Google, and then we got in the car and we went to literally every mass market store and large supermarkets and anything on Long Island that we could find. We got in the car and we started driving because we said, like, how has this not been done? So then when we pretty much thought, okay, we can't find a product like this. So I said I wanted it to be formulated that it could hold its own to the best products in the world. So my husband and I separately researched for a food development specialist, because that's where we wanted to go. We wanted to go to somebody who knew everything and anything about the food and beverage industry. Maybe somebody who's flavored and created, flavors for some of the biggest brands in the world. Mm-hmm. So by the grace of God, we interviewed a few, but we found a diamond gentleman and company. And we contacted him after interviewing several other people, and we drove to his facility. And it was a marriage made in heaven.
And that's not easy. Truly. We hear people all the time finding the wrong people.
Oh God.
And losing time and money.
Yeah.
To find somebody that, like, sort of quickly, and to have that work, because this is food. This isn't ingestible. It's not like a physical product that you just touch. You have to be so careful outside of just making it taste good, but it has to be safe. There's tests and procedures and protocols for something that
Absolutely.
your body ingests.
Absolutely.
So finding that is not easy, and to the specifics of what you want.
Yeah, no, I just always say I'm a very faith-filled person. I taught religion to the girls when they were young and their friends, and you know, I was raised in a very faith-driven family, and my husband as well. So I really just, you have to believe, and we prayed on it, and I just said, God, like, show me the way. Please don't let me get hurt. You know, because that's the biggest thing, and we all do as inventors and as, you know, entrepreneurs. There are a lot of bad roads that you can go down, but by the grace of God, and I really mean that, we did take our time. We didn't rush to make a decision. And how I found this gentleman and how I knew that it was the right fit was I spoke to the woman who answered the phone, who had been working for him for over 15 years. And I didn't initially ask to speak to him. I spoke to her and I said, you know, tell me about yourself. Tell me, like, what do you do for the company and how long have you been there? And, you know, what is your role? And all she did was ooze with gratitude and admiration at this person's ability to execute and how important his customers are and clients are. And it was just, I mean, it was immediate validation, and she really answered all the questions. And of course, anybody who's interviewing the owner of the company, of course, he's going to answer your questions, or you
Sure.
hope, with all the right answers. But she
Right.
really sold.
She did it. You were done. Yeah, you were set.
Yeah, I was
right?
like, okay, you had me at hello. But
I'm
we
good.
still win. We still win, and we still we met him in person and we saw his facility. And my husband has been we have another company that it's a legacy company that my father-in-law had started. So we do have a lot of business sense and savvy and background, even though I've never done anything, nor has my husband, in the food or beverage industry. But I feel like we're seasoned business people, and I think that has a lot to do with it too. And we have really good instincts and intuition.
Yeah, it helps. Hey, by the way, where on Long Island are you from?
Yes, so my father worked for Grumman, so I was actually born in Las Cruces, New Mexico, but I came here when I was 2.5. My parents are originally from Brooklyn, and my dad worked for Grumman, and they lived on Long Island, and then he had the opportunity to be relocated to work on the lunar module and the Apollo project. So I was born in Las Cruces, New Mexico, along with my brother Brian, and my brother Stephen was born here in New York. And then my parents drove him across country. Myself and my brother were born in New Mexico, and then we moved to Houston, Texas, and then we wound up coming back to Long Island. So
Yeah,
I've been here since I'm 2.5.
Yeah, I grew up in Dix Hills, and then
yeah, stone throw from me.
Yeah, so and then
I'm very proud of my dad. It's
it's a great thing to do that.
Yeah.
All right, hey, Carmine, if you're still with us, and I know that you are, I mean, you're hearing what Carolyn's saying, and we both know that to find and go down this path is not an easy thing for anybody, but you know, on the manufacturing side, what that's like to be able to accomplish what Carolyn's doing. I mean, what do you think about what she's done here?
Yeah, well, you know, I make products that are hard plastics and different types of materials, but you know, with Carolyn, when you're talking about making a product that so many people have different tastes and likes and things like that, then you're on the food beverage side where it has to be specifically how it's made. You limit your capabilities, you limit your manufacturers, the people that can help you, into such a small bowl of people. And for Carolyn to take that time and find the right people, it really is a needle in a haystack. But it also is, you know, through to her pushing it through and finding out. So to get a product like this and now get it out on the market, it's just it's amazing that she's come this far. I love the product. It's in our kitchen of our office right now. So that's why when she's talking about it, I'm like, yeah, we have all the flavors.
Yeah, and obviously I need to get some. This is one of those things where like when you see it, once you know it's out there, and you just look at like plain white sugar, you're like,
Yeah.
I just don't want to anymore, right? Like I want to have these flavors, and it just takes something ordinary and makes it more fun and interesting. And like you said, you can just switch it up, and you don't need to go to the store and buy all these big creamer things, which we just talked about how they're just not good for you. Even and they're expensive. You know, I was looking at Carolyn's prices and stuff. I mean, for what you get, just the pricing is so good. Like you get so much for your money for the experience. And like she said, that you can use them not just for coffee. That's just sort of the beginning. You could use them for everything. But all right, Carolyn, so you've done all this, you've met this great company, and let's just skip ahead. Okay, so now you've got the product formulated.
Yeah.
And you were, I mean, you were on TV. You were on like national TV shows. I mean, tell me how that process was for you. Like, how did you get chosen? Joy Mangano. I mean, there's people that you're not involved with that are heavyweights in our industry. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So, wow. Okay. So I formulate the product, Javamelts, with the 4 flavors, hazelnut, mocha, French vanilla, and caramel. And I started putting myself out there to the biggest trade shows that I could get into and go to. I literally threw everything at the wall to see what would stick. So being at the, I started taking best product awards along the way. And I built, it's like was a slow build. So what happened was I would go to like the Chicago Sweet and Snack Expo. Then I would go to the International Restaurant and Food Service Show. And I won.
And you would set up a booth, right?
Yeah, I would set up a booth. And I would be like, hey, I'm here, try my product. And what I did was I was like, listen, Javamelts smells amazing. It tastes amazing. It has to be interactive. I'm against the biggest names in the world: International Delight, Coffee Mate, Nestle, Nespresso, Lavazza, Mars Drinks. Like it just goes on and on. I need to show that Carolyn Barbarite and Javamelts flavored sugar can hold its own against the biggest global companies of the world. And that's what I did. I took a booth and I literally interacted with people. I was serving hot coffee. I had half and half, and I had Javamelts flavored sugar. And my booth was absolutely crowded from the minute I got there to the minute I left. And I was actually selling product to the people at the trade show. They didn't even want to wait to buy it online. They were like, hey, can I buy it off your table? Like, I'll come back the last day of the show so that we don't deplete you of your inventory, because obviously you're not prepared for that. So I got smart. I brought suitcases with me and I stuck them underneath my table.
Nice.
And I would let people buy it. So I took a best product award at the International Restaurant and Food Service Show. Then I took a best product award at the CTW NAMA, which is coffee, tea, water in the industry. Then I took a best product award at the Coffee Fest of New York at the Javits Center. And as I was doing that, I got on LinkedIn, which is where we all met. And I started not, I don't want to say bragging about it. I just started sprinkling like wonderful news, helping to inspire and motivate others, because we've all had bad days. We've all had bad things happen. I lost my entire company during COVID. I lost my manufacturing ability. I lost the industry I was going after was the office coffee service market. And there was no office coffee to be found or had. So trust me, this sounds like all, rainbows and gold, but trust me, I've been knocked down a gazillion times. So as you win best product awards and as it's people's choice, so people are voting, okay? It's not the people in the industry that own the shelf space and own the advertising, but it's regular people like you and I. So I allowed them to give me honest feedback. And I do my product now, the new and improved version of Javamelts flavored sugar is here to stay. after COVID or during COVID, I pivoted, I shifted gears, and I came out with the sugar packets, and I came out with the 1.5 pound granulated pouch bag. And it is better than ever.
Really?
And you know, so that's how I did it. So how I got on Joy Mangano's show was I saw an advertisement and I answered it. And I was like, hey, I have a product and I have a story like no other. And I need your help to get it out. And I promise I'll bring my energy and my passion, and I want to help others. And that's how I got on America's Big Deal with Joy Mangano. I sold myself to the producers. I sold myself to them. I met her family. I met her daughters. Like that's how I met Carmine. I met, you know, so Chris, what is it? Track belt reminds me, 360.
Yep.
Yeah. So I met, he was a contestant on the show with me, and Christopher Guerrera,
Mhm.
who was winner of Shark Tank, was in the audience. So while I was on the show, he came up to me and my family after the show, and he was like, Carolyn, your story is incredible. Your product is incredible. Let me help you. And that's how I get to places, like by the grace of God and the goodness of people, because people do see the vision. They do see the capability of Javamelts flavored sugar. They get it.
But you know, you get up every day and you work it. That I mean, all of those things are important, right? You know that if you just laid around and hoped that somebody would come in and swoop in and see your vision, it doesn't work that way. We tell inventors you have to get up. And like you said, everybody went through COVID. It wasn't just you, and it wasn't just me, and it wasn't just Carmine or Chris. Everybody went through that time. And it's easy to sort of lay down and give up. But when you got up and said, you know what, this is crappy, this is bad for everybody, but I'm still going to find a way to make this happen, because you knew your product was valid, you knew that it had legs, you got up and did it. And didn't you just come back from a trade show that
I did? I flew in on the red eye yesterday morning. I got in at 6:30 in the morning. I got like 4 hours of sleep the night before. But
how did that go?
It was amazing. Okay. So I won the CTW NAMA show in 2019 in Anaheim, California. And I also won successively in 2021 in New Orleans. This time, this show, I actually lost so much money during COVID that I didn't have the money for the booth. And I was working on some other projects where the money had to be spent. I'm building inventory, and I lost my warehouse, so I had to find another warehouse. It's just been one circumstance after another. So it broke my heart. But when NAMA said, hey, we want you to have a booth, I was like, well, I have to fly to Vegas, so we know how expensive that is. I have to stay in a hotel for a few days. We know how expensive that is. I have to buy the booth. And I didn't have anybody to share the booth. I kept saying, do you know anybody who wants to share a booth? I'll split the cost. Maybe that'll make more sense. Well, by the grace of God, I was on LinkedIn, and I happened to get into Aramark Healthcare as in a pilot program with them in the hospitals.
Really?
And I posted about it. Yeah, Philadelphia hospitals from Long Island. And I was setting up a little tasting booth in the cafeterias. And I was getting feedback from the healthcare workers and the administrators and, you know, everybody in the hospital, the staff, so that I could bring it back to Aramark Healthcare corporate and say, like, this is what's happening. This is why people like the product. This is how we could put it out. And this is how it's benefiting, because they don't like the artificial sweeteners in the hospitals, and they don't like the syrups, powders, and creamers, because they are contributing to the, you know, the landfill disaster that we have. And my product is clean, and it is better for you, and it's sanitary, and it's portion control, and all those fun things. So anyway, so I was on LinkedIn, and a big distributor that I had never heard before, it's called Holiday House Distributing, found me. The founder, he's been in business 40 years, Butch Winkler, he's incredible. He saw me post about Aramark, and they sell to Aramark. And he reached out to me on LinkedIn. He was like, hey, like, do you have a few minutes for a phone call? Like, I want to learn more about you and your company. I was like, absolutely. So I meet Butch, and you know, he introduces me to his right-hand person, Barbara Russell, who is just incredible. And Barbara and I have a rapport, and Barbara's from Long Island originally, so we had that connect. That's, you know, the old the New York thing. And she was like, Carolyn, you have to send me samples of your product. I have to try it. So we started out like that, and we developed, you know, a rapport and a relationship. And she said to me one day, and I have chills. She said, Carolyn, would you like to come down and be a part of our booth? We'd like to bring Javamelts flavored sugar into our distribution channel.
Perfect.
We actually don't have any consumables. They are a distributor of parts.
Oh yeah, I know the
For
company.
the-
It's a huge company. Huge,
Yeah.
huge company.
Yeah, for the coffee industry,
Yep.
as far as like, you know, if you have machinery. So PS, we know all the same people. So I said to her, yeah, what do you want me to do? She said, I want you to fly sugar.
You did your thing. You did your
I
thing.
did my thing, and our booth rocked it. We
And
were
were you and
so busy.
not a surprise.
Oh
Not a
my
surprise.
gosh, so engaging. The aroma that was, you know, that was being dispersed from our booth was engaging enough. But then,
Oh
of
yeah.
course, you know, you have wonderful people like Barbara and Anthony and Blackie, like their team. But when I tell you, people brought me to tears because they were just so complimentary
Yeah.
complimentary. It was just an incredible 2 days, really.
All
I
right.
am so grateful.
So all right. So we're gonna wrap up here in a second, but a couple things.
Yeah.
I'm very friendly with the roadshow buyers from like Costco and stuff like that, where you just go days and Sam's Club. So
Absolutely.
we'll talk later. But Carmine,
Thank you
Carmine,
so much.
I know that we know we can store great.
Yeah, it's a great product.
It's just a true testament, right, Carmine, to not only having a great product, because we know that a lot of great products never succeed because the owners, the inventors, don't get up every day and work the product, the brand. You're doing everything, Carolyn, that inventors should do. And you know what? You may have some business acumen, but a lot of it is just, like you said, it's your heart. You're getting up, you believe in what you're doing. You know that if people can try it and see it and experience it, that it will be something they will want. And since we know there's a gazillion people that drink coffee and can use it for other uses, there's no limit. I think you're just getting started for as much as you've done. And Carmine, right? I mean, like, this is what we talk about. We just did a podcast last week on trade shows and about how you need to work it. You need to get up in your booth and talk to people. You can't just sit there on your laptop and ignoring everybody. It's a show. You have to put on a show, and you put on a show.
Yeah.
Simple.
Well, I think I'd like to say this because I think it's really important for people to hear it. Okay. I am a very passionate person. I'm a very loyal person. I'm a very genuine person. Okay. So I think when, as you know, inventors and entrepreneurs and business people, you know, you get what you give. Okay. You attract what you put out. So if your energy is doubtful and negative and doom and gloom, you know,
You'll get it back.
You're never
You'll get
going
that
to
back.
succeed. You're never going to make it. If you're having a bad day, let yourself have a bad day. But you need to put into it positive thoughts and positivity. And if a door is closing or has closed, don't dwell on it. Take it as crazy as this sounds, take it as a sign that that's not the door or the path that you should be on. Period. End of story. There's nothing you can do about it. There is nothing you can do about it.
Yeah, you're right. You got to get up the next day, and you have to just get it together. I mean, that's what you have to do. It's the only way.
Absolutely. And that's why I share my story, because I think it's important for people to hear it.
Very important. It is. All right, Carmine, any closing thoughts here?
No, all good. I think that this is an exact example, you know,
Yep.
having, as you guys both said, having a good idea or an invention or an idea is just a beginning. There's so much work, and a lot of inventors that we deal with, and I know Carolyn probably runs into them, think because they have an idea, the world owes them something, or the world owes them to buy it or take it to market. But there's so much work in the back end to get that product in front of people, and that's what's so great about Carolyn, what Carolyn's doing,
Yeah.
succeeding, and
Well,
she's
we'll get her
others.
back. We'll get her back on. We'll do an update next year and see where she's at. Right, Carolyn? I'm sure you'll want to share.
100%.
Good,
100%. 100%. Like, look, I put out to the universe every day. I am so grateful and so appreciative of every single opportunity I have been given. And I can't thank you enough for allowing me to be on your show today, because
Good. A lot of people are gonna learn from what you're saying. It's important. We get a lot of listeners and people who really take to heart what we talk about. And as Carmine and I always say, when we get on ourselves and talk about the business, it's one thing factually, but when people hear stories like yours, it really is an inspiration to inventors who may be struggling. They're having that bad day. They don't know what to do or don't believe that they can do it. But if you have that passion and that belief, and you get up every day and decide to do something about it, there's really no reason why you can't make it. And whether you make millions or thousands, it doesn't matter. It's that you're doing what you want to do, the way you want to do it. And your story is just a perfect example of how people need to go about doing it.
thank you. Thank you.
Yes.
I mean, I've had a lot of, like I said, trials and tribulations, but I think
That's
your
what it's about.
attitude-
It's never
your
easy.
attitude has a lot to
Yeah.
do with how you wind
Of
up.
course
I mean,
it is.
I had a president of a multi-billion-dollar company, and I have a relationship. And he said to me, Carolyn, you're going to make it no matter what, no matter if it's with my company, who I'm dealing with now, who I can't
Right.
disclose who it is just
Right,
yet.
right.
But he said, you're going to make it. He said, you have the passion, you have the tenacity, he said, you have what it takes. And, you know, he brought me to tears, and I said, you know, I can't thank you enough. And he said, you should be very proud of yourself, Carolyn. He said, because I was drawn to you because of the energy and the confidence and the passion that you brought. Because I reached out to him on LinkedIn and said, hey, I have a great product that I think you could do amazing things with. Can I have 5 minutes of your time? I literally, that's how I got a phone call first, then a meeting, and he was at the show, and you know, we have a rapport. He's got his salespeople on it. I mean, so exciting.
You're doing all the right things. All right, Carmine, you get the last word here. Wrap her up.
It always happens to me.
It goes so quick.
People are always
Time
saying
goes
you.
so-
They're always
so
saying
quick,
you have
doesn't
to
it?
have the last word.
Well, today
No,
you do.
Great. Listen, everyone out there listening, thank you so much for being a part of our show. Not only for today's show, but for the last 6 years. It's awesome to be talking with you. As usual, if you have a question or comment, anything you want, reach out to Jim. He's on social media all over the place. Go on out to podcasts, wherever you consume your podcast, whether it's Google Play, iTunes, wherever. Make sure you like and, of course, subscribe to our show. For Carolyn, thank you so much for coming on today. Go on out and get Javamelts, and you got to try the flavors. I love the caramel myself, but it's awesome. I actually think we've closed some deals because of the Javamelt in our office. Our clients want to keep coming back. But also, go on out there, guys. Thank you for listening, and we will catch you next time on Get Retail Ready with Mr. Jim DeBetta. You all take care.